Hey guys, welcome to our channel. Please click the subscribe button and click the bell icon and never miss another update from Almighty Java. In this video, we will see about multithreading. What is multithreading? Multithreading in Java is a process of executing multiple threads simultaneously. The thread is basically a lightweight sub-process, the smallest unit of processing. Multiprocessing and multithreading, both are used to achieve multitasking. A multi-threaded program contains two or more parts that can run concurrently, and each part can handle a different task at the same time, making optimal use of the available resources. Especially multi-threaded programs contain two or more threads that can run concurrently. This means that a single program can perform two or more tasks simultaneously. One thread is writing content on a file at the same time another thread is performing spelling check. Advantages of multithreading. The main purpose of multithreading is to provide simultaneous execution of two or more parts of a program to maximum utilize the CPU time. A multi-threaded program contains two or more parts that can run concurrently, each such part of a program called thread. Threads are lightweight sub-processes. They share the common memory space. In the multi-threaded environment, programs that are benefited from multithreading utilize the maximum CPU time so that the idle time can be kept to a minimum. It doesn't block the user because threads are independent and you can perform multiple operations at the same time. Threads are independent so it doesn't affect other threads if an exception occurs in a single thread. Lifecycle of thread. New, a thread has been created but not started yet. A thread will be started by calling its start method. Runnable, this state is also called ready to run stage, also called queue. A thread starts in the runnable state by calling start method. The thread scheduler decides which thread runs and how long. Running, if a thread is executing, that means thread is in running stage. Dead, once a thread reached dead state it cannot run again. Waiting, a running thread moves to one of the waiting or blocked states depending upon the situation. Let's implement using thread class. Using thread class. Need to extend thread class. Override the run method. Call start method of thread class. Here is the example. Disadvantage: if implementing using thread class so you can extend more than one class. Let's create a new Java project. Just to make it simple, give project name thread. Let's create new package and package ends with thread. Create a new class called using thread. Now just watch whatever I am doing. If running through the main method it's part of the main method. You can see when I printed current thread name, it's printing main. Let's create a separate class to demo about thread. Run thread using start method, then only it's part of newly created thread, otherwise if run using run method then it's part of the main thread. Let's change start to run method. See, now it's a part of the main thread. I hope you got the difference between start and run. There is only one thread so you can't see how the thread works. To see how the thread works, so for that we need multiple objects. Still, maintain order. Every time run a program output is always different and that depends on the operating system. Let's run again. See, now order is different. Let's open thread class. Let's read the documentation. A thread is a thread of execution in a program. The Java virtual machine allows an application to have multiple threads of execution running concurrently. Every thread has a priority. Threads with higher priority are executed in preference to threads with lower priority. Each thread may or may not also be marked as a daemon. When code running in some thread creates a new thread object, the new thread has its priority initially set equal to the priority of the creating thread and is a daemon thread if and only if the creating thread is a daemon. When a Java virtual machine starts up, there is usually a single non-daemon thread, which typically calls the method named main of some designated class. The Java virtual machine continues to execute threads until either of the following occurs. The exit method of class runtime has been called and the security manager has permitted the exit operation to take place. All threads that are not daemon threads have died, either by returning from the call to the run method or by throwing an exception that propagates beyond the run method. There are two ways to create a new thread of execution. One is to declare a class to be a subclass of thread. This subclass should override the run method of class thread. An instance of the subclass can then be allocated and started. For example, a thread that computes primes larger than a stated value could be written as follows. Is there from JDK 1.0? You can see the minimum, normal and maximum priority 1, 5 and 10. Just go through this class documentation. You can search for the method, like openRun method. It calls target.run method and it is formed runnable interface. OpenStart method. Start method internally called start0 methods and that is a native method. Native method implementation depends on OS, so because of that output may differ as per the OS. Using runnable interface. Need to implement the runnable interface. Override the run method. Call start method of thread class. Here is the example. Advantage: implementing interface gives the freedom to multiple interfaces as well as in this scenario can extend a class also. Let's implement using runnable interface. Let's create a new class called using runnable. Follow like we did last time, but now instead of thread class we will use runnable interface. See, it's working. Every time it's giving different output. Now let's call sleep method inside for loop and see what output make a difference. So every time loop execute after each and every exit it sleeps for 50 milliseconds. Let's read the Java documentation for the runnable interface. The runnable interface should be implemented by any class whose instances are intended to be executed by a thread. The class must define a method of no arguments called to run. This interface is designed to provide a common protocol for objects that wish to execute code while they are active. For example, Runnable is implemented by class thread. Being active simply means that a thread has been started and has not yet been stopped. In addition, Runnable provides the means for a class to be active while not subclassing thread. A class that implements Runnable can run without subclassing thread by instantiating a thread instance and passing itself in as the target. In most cases, the Runnable interface should be used if you are only planning to override a run method and no other thread methods. This is important because classes should not be subclassed unless the programmer intends on modifying or enhancing the fundamental behavior of the class. It also exists from JDK 1.0. Let's implement using inner class. Let's create a new class called using local inner class. So now instead of auto class, we will create a class inside the main method. See, it's working. Now instead of thread class, we will use Runnable interface. See, it's working. Let's implement using static inner class. Let's create a new class called using static inner class. See, it's working. Now instead of thread class, we will use Runnable interface. It's working. Let's implement using anonymous class. Let's create a new class called using anonymous class. I hope you know the concept about anonymous class. First, we will see using thread class. Instead of creating two objects, keep it one and for other use main. It's working. Now we will see using Runnable interface. See, it's working. Let's implement using dependent thread. First, we will see using thread class. Let's create a new class called dependent thread. Thread B class contains an object of the thread A class, so no need to start two thread. We will start thread B and thread will start by thread B. See, it's working. Let's put some thread names so it's easy to identify. See, it's working. Now we will see using Runnable interface. Let's create a new class called dependent Runnable. Follow the same thing as we did in dependent thread. See, it's working. Please like and share this video. Subscribe our channel. Thanks for watching.